Welcome to the £100 meeting. Today is Wednesday, the 6th of April, and we're about to have a speaker, Bec, who's from Suffolk in the UK. She has been a part of Overeaters Anonymous since February 2021. And I'm delighted to have her speaking with us today. Bec, take it away.
Thanks very much, Rebecca. Hi, I'm Bec, compulsive overeater, and as Rebecca said, I came to my first meeting in February last year, and I had no idea what I was doing at the meeting. I just know I was at rock bottom, and this was my last chance at anything like trying to be healthy, because I'd tried everything else. When I started my abstinence on the 23rd of March last year, and so I weighed myself for the first time in a little while, and I weighed in at 398 pounds, and I was exactly double what I should be for my height. So I thought about how I was going to talk about this today, and I thought I'd sort of show you some pictures from different times in my life and show you how I am most certainly a compulsive overeater. I was born January 81, and that is the only time in my entire life that I have been a normal weight. I was born at £7 4.5, and that is the only time in my entire life I have been a good weight for my age. So I'm just going to share this first group of images. As you can see, top left, I'm about 2 to 3. Bottom left, I'm age 9, and you can see by my face that I'm already carrying a lot of weight there. Top right, I can't see. I think I'm age 11. Yeah, age 11. And then bottom right, I'm about the same age. And as you can see, not very flattering photos, carrying a lot of extra weight there. I was put on my first diet when I was 5 by the school nurse. And before that, I think I just loved food, sugary foods in particular. But once I got put on that first diet, it was then became a battle between me and everyone around me, because I wanted to eat all the foods that I was told I couldn't have because they were bad for me. And I wasn't interested in the other foods particularly. I'd eat them because they'd fill me up, but I wasn't interested in them. I didn't crave them. But the sugary foods and the crisps and anything that was a treat food, I wanted all of it that I could possibly fit in. And so by the time I got, let me just stop sharing now. By the time I got to age 10, 11, I was swapping food from my lunchbox with other people's. I was actually got to the point of asking to go to the toilet, going down to the cloakrooms where everyone's coats and bags were stored, as well as the bathrooms, and eating out of everybody's lunchboxes and raiding their backpacks for their food, because I knew they'd have food that I didn't have, wasn't allowed. Or I'd volunteer to walk to school with friends and then raid their treat cupboards, because they didn't mind if I ate their food that they were allowed to have whenever. And if it was a day where their mum had to go shopping and their treat cupboard was empty, I was devastated. And I had no idea that there were other people out there that were going through the same thing as me. I felt so alone, so isolated, and so ashamed. And then we'll move forward into my teens, and that was a tough time as well. Let me just share that screen for you. Where are we? There we go. As you can see at the top left, I'm age 14, very, very chubby. Age 16, very round-faced. Age 18, I was wearing size 26 clothes, and I had a part-time job, so I was able to buy all my own binge foods, and I was able to buy more and more expensive clothes that I could actually fit into. I wasn't having to be wearing stuff that was much older than my age from a charity shop. And then age 19, you can see I'm 6'2", so much taller than everybody else in the photo, and the only one in my family who was more than slightly overweight. My teens were difficult years for me. I was assaulted sexually twice during that time, and my relationship with my parents was not great. They were very distant. They weren't very supportive emotionally. And so food was my way of coping with everything. It was my way of cheering myself up when I'd been bullied, because I was bullied relentlessly throughout school. I can remember being in year 13, doing my A levels, and there were year 7 children right early into their secondary school life, running after me, shouting abuse at me, because they thought that was okay, even though I was 6'2" and 18. And so I just grew up in this just constant shame. My mum used to joke and say I had an inferiority complex, but I did have an inferiority complex. I thought I was terrible and everyone else was great. And every time I tried to share about some abuse that had happened, it was dismissed. If I shared an emotion I had, it was, oh, don't be silly. If I said somebody'd done something to hurt me, either emotionally or physically, I was told, oh, well, you must have done, what did you do to deserve it? And so I couldn't, any emotions I had, I just had to squash them with food, because that was the only tool I had was food. And luckily, I had very good friends who got me through high school, because otherwise I think I would have ended it, because it was just so painful to be the one who was morbidly obese when everybody else was slim and beautiful and popular. There was me and there was one other girl who was my size, and we were both bullied relentlessly. And as I said, if it wasn't for my few friends that I had, I wouldn't have got through it. Then I went to university, and that was the first time in my life I hadn't been bullied for who I was. But I struggled physically with all the walking between, lectures in different buildings and stuff. And my eating got a little bit better, because I was making all my own meals and I was away from family. And I didn't, because at the end of my teens, when I was dating a very abusive in many ways fiance, I was eating my breakfast at home. My mum would give me a packed lunch, so I'd take that to school, and I would eat my packed lunch at break time. Then at lunchtime, I'd say, oh, I've forgotten my lunch, or I'd have money from my part-time job, and I'd buy lunch at school. Then I'd get home at 3:30, and I'd eat snacks out of the cupboard, whatever was available. If there were sugary things, brilliant. If not, brown bread would do, anything. Or I'd eat sugar right out of the sugar bowl. And then I'd have my tea with my family, and then I would walk 2 miles to see my boyfriend. But on the way, I'd stop halfway at a shop, and I'd buy something like a pasty and a bar of chocolate, and I'd eat those on the way to my boyfriend's house. And then I'd get there and I'd say, oh, I haven't had my tea yet. Can we order something? And so we'd order another full meal, or we'd walk to the video shop and we'd buy a load of junk food to rent a video and come back and eat it. And that was just, my food was everything. And so when I got to university, I don't know why, but things were just slightly different, and I didn't eat quite as much. But then I only did a year and a half of university, and then I met my ex-husband and dropped out of university and moved to Suffolk, from South Wales to Suffolk, and got married to my ex-husband, and we had our first child. And that brings me into my 20s, and I had 2 children, one at 21 and one at 23, and both have cystic fibrosis. And so they were very, very poorly as young children. And again, food was my lifeline. I'd be sat by their bed in the hospital eating bar after bar after bar of chocolate and bag after bag after bag of sweets and hiding them when the nurses came in to check the children. And it was the only way that I got through my days. And my husband would be like, what are you doing? You need to stop this. And I'd say, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't do drugs, I don't spend lots of money on expensive things. Literally, food is my only vice. Surely I've got to have something. And it wasn't a happy marriage after about a year or so. By the time the children came along, it was not a happy marriage. And so literally food was my only friend. I'd had no family in the area. I had some friends, but food was what got me through each day. And it was the thought of what I could eat the next day that kept me going through the next day. So I'll just share some photos from my 20s just to show you. So I've got to move you all over to the other side of the screen. There we go. That's me and my eldest daughter, and I'm age 21 there. And then you can see by age 26 where I've been in and out of hospital with the children and had all that alone time to binge. Age 26, which is top right and bottom left, I am huge. And I was about 29 stone there, which is just over 400 pounds. And that bottom left picture, I was doing a sponsored walk across the Severn Bridge, which links England and Wales. And I think it was about 7 miles, the sponsored walk. And you can see by the colour of my face on that photo, it was not a pleasant experience. I was in agony and I was exhausted, and everybody else looks absolutely fine. That's my mum and my daughter. And then if you look across to the bottom right photo, that's me and my brother and sister. As you can see, they are very normal weights, and I'm taking up most of the photo with my stomach because I was size 30, 32, and I tried Slimming World, I'd tried all the different pay and ways, I'd tried magazine diets, I'd tried weight management programs, and nothing was working. And then that got me into my 30s. And in my 30s, share the screen again, I tried a diet that was a meal replacement plan, where you don't actually eat any real food. You just have milkshakes and bars and soups. And as you can see, I started at that was December, the top left photo, where I'm still size 30, 32. And then I started the diet in the May, and the top right picture was taken the following September. And I'd lost probably about 10 stone there. And I was doing a sponsored fun run with my daughter. And that is the only time I have ever done anything that involved running. I did a couch to 5K, and I was able to do all the running I wanted. And as you can see, bottom left, I was much smaller than my massive clothes of my size 30, 32 days. And I thought, as you can see that I've written at the bottom, I thought I was cured because I'd found a diet that I could stick to and that would actually get rid of the weight. And so I thought, I've cracked it, I'm perfect, we're sorted. But as soon as I then tried to eat like a normal person, I all of a sudden started regaining my weight, because once I started, I couldn't stop. And at this point, I didn't understand anything about, food addiction or compulsive overeaters. I just thought, I just can't diet. I am broken. I am rubbish. What is wrong with me? And I was so, so ashamed, because instead of just yo-yoing the same 2.5 stone as through all the other diets, I'd actually lost a lot of weight. I changed my life. It hadn't helped any situations in my life. My marriage was still horrendous, and my husband was still awful, and my children were still disabled, and I was still miles away from my family, completely isolated. But I thought I wouldn't be magically happy because I was a size 16 to 18 instead of a size 30, 32. But no, I was still the same broken person on the inside, and food was still my addiction. And as soon as I tried to have a day off my diet for Christmas or for my birthday, I was gone. I was in the food again. And it'd be, oh, I'll just have this week off. I've done really well. I'll just have this week off. And that would turn into a month, particularly as Christmas and my birthday are nearly a month apart. So that was always binge season for me, regardless of whether I was on a diet. But I just couldn't get back on it because I didn't understand that abstinence is the only way to regain your sanity from it. And so I got into my 30s looking great. And then I'll show you what happened as I got later on into my 30s after I started eating again. There I am, October 2019. I, by this point, was divorced and remarried with my little boy that you can see there. He's now 3.5, but at the time he was just over 1, and I had type 2 diabetes, and I was severely anemic due to various blood conditions, and I was also at that point developing fibromyalgia, but I didn't know it. And as you can see, I could not stop eating. I was bigger than ever there. I couldn't even fit in that chair at my mother-in-law's 70th birthday. You can see I'm falling out of the chair. And then I got married to my second husband, February 2020. And as you can see, look at my stomach in that wedding dress. I was so ashamed of my size on that day. And I desperately wanted to be this beautiful princess, but I was trapped in this addiction body that showed everybody who wanted to look exactly what my problem was. And then we had lockdown, and as you can see, October 2020, that's me and my sister and my nephew. I was uncontrollably overweight. I was binging left, right, and centre. By February 2021, just as I was coming into OA, that's the bottom right photo. As you can see, my legs are deformed. That's partly through being morbidly obese, but partly through joint hypermobility syndrome, which is beyond my control. So it would have happened to some degree anyway, but my weight certainly didn't help. And I was struggling to walk by then. So I crawled into my first OA meeting on my hands and knees, virtual meeting, obviously, virtual hands and knees. And I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea why I was, what the OA was going to do. What I thought it was just, they push you into another diet and that was it. I had no idea. What I really needed was spiritual and emotional healing. And so I went to my first meeting, and my first sponsor contacted me and said that her sponsor had told her she was ready to start sponsoring. Would I like her to be my sponsor? So I already had a higher power at the time. I was a lifelong Christian, but being a lifelong Christian didn't help my food addiction beforehand. But I'll talk more about that in a minute. I prayed about it and I said, yes, I'd like her to be my sponsor. And so I started looking at step 1. And the first question in the 12 and 12 workbook was to do an honest account of your eating history. I've paraphrased that, but that's basically what it is. And so that's what I've just done for you with those photos, is I've given you my eating history. And then I found step 1 was heartbreaking for me, because I had to really look at all the times throughout my life where I'd been a compulsive overeater. And I had to be honest and face up to that. And I was so gutted doing step 1. And I felt so ashamed having to read it out to my sponsor. I thought, nobody in the world has ever done this before. I'm the only one, and I'm a freak, and I hate myself. But she identified with 90% of what was on my story, and I was astounded that I wasn't the only one. And then I got to step 2, and I thought, oh, step 2 will be easy. I've got a higher power. I call him God, and he's already, I already give him control of my life. Then I read the step 2 in the OA 12 and 12, and I was like, oh, yeah, I've just been praying to him to let me eat what I want when I want without gaining weight. I haven't actually asked him to take away my food addiction, partly because I didn't know I had one. But it was, I realized I'd never let God into that. It was always, no, that's my thing. You can have the rest of my life, but food is mine and I don't need you in it and I don't want you in it. And so I had to have a very serious talk with my higher power and say, yeah, I'm really sorry that I haven't given you control of that area of my life. And yeah, maybe you do know what's best for me in that area. And around the same time, I started doing two-way prayer through a workshop, an OA workshop. I think it was the early bird birthday party. They've been doing it for a year. And I went to this two-way prayer session and I was just astounded at the experience of being able to write a letter to my higher power and actually have them write back to me. And that taught me so much. And I think that's been one of the things that's kept me abstinent for over a year now, is that I have this relationship with my higher power. And step 3 was where I said that I believed that I thought that my higher power could do that. And then step 4 was terrifying. Step 4 was where I had to write down all my resentments that I'd had over the years and why I resented people and what my role in it was. And then I had to do all my fears, why I was afraid of them, what God might want me to feel about those fears. And it was better than any therapy. And I've been in and out of therapy since 2005 due to chronic trauma through my childhood, through my teenage years, and through my adult life, both to do with my ex-husband and to do with having 2 disabled children who were frequently very unwell and needed a lot of support. And it was scary being their parent a lot of the time. And being so isolated as well, because all my family is still in South Wales and I didn't have a very close relationship with my in-laws. Because we were all dysfunctional families. My parents were dysfunctional, his parents were dysfunctional, and we were a dysfunctional family. And so it was just a difficult situation all round. And so there were a lot of resentments, a lot of fears linked into all that. And so getting rid of them through my step 4 and then giving it to my sponsor in step 5 was an absolute revelation. I had no idea that it was like my fears and resentments were they were like boulders. I was dragging them behind me. They were attached to a rope that was round my waist and I was dragging them along behind me and they were weighing me down with every step. And through doing my step 4, it was like I unraveled those fibers of that rope and gradually I was able to leave them behind. And they still pop up. I've got chronic PTSD, complex PTSD. So I have trauma dreams, I have triggers and things. But in general, I have a lot more peace than I had before about them. And I actually lost my first sponsor around the time I was doing my step 4, 5. And I then had to find a new sponsor. And I found my second sponsor, who is a wonderful, wonderful lady who brought me through the rest of the steps. And I think step 6 and 7, learning about my character defects, that was absolutely very eye-opening. I mean, I had no idea I really had many character defects, because I thought, well, I'm a good person. I haven't really done anything really bad. And, I like people and I try to help people that I don't like. How many character defects can I have and how bad can they be? And then I discovered that actually I had quite a few, including ego and pride. And it really opened my eyes to actually what a character defect is and why I had them, because they were my defense mechanisms, and how I could give them to God. And that was just, earth shattering to be able to say, yeah, I've got these, but can you help me with them, please? And then to make a listing and making my amends, again, terrifying, particularly as I had to make amends to my ex-husband, and I had to be vulnerable to him, which is something I didn't ever want to be again. But it's all about keeping my side of the street clean. And so I made those amends, and I'm sure he really enjoyed it. But was peaceful for me to do it. It brought me peace because I was giving up that guilt and shame over the things that I'd done in our relationship that had hurt him or that I wasn't proud of. And so by making amends for my half of it, even though he's never made amends or even admitted or apologized for all the things that he did, um, it just gave me peace to apologize to him for the things that I'd done. And again, it made me feel lighter. It was more of these boulders that unraveled from around me. And so I don't know how long I've got left, by the way. I'm not sure who's timing me. Anyone timing me?
I'm sorry, I wasn't actually timing you, but I'd say, continue. You're in a good place.
Okay, right. Okay. I'll do that then.
God is timing you.
Okay, I'll listen to him when he tells me to shut up. Okay. Steps 10 to 12 are the ones that you have to live in every day. And it means I've got to complete my step 10 review every day. And it means that if I get a resentment or a fear, that I've got to work on it straight away and send it to my sponsor. I'm now on my third sponsor because my second sponsor had to step down and focus on her own recovery. So I'm now on my third sponsor, but I'm very, very, very blessed to have had 3 amazing sponsors who've done everything they possibly could for me. And so, all of a sudden I'd worked my steps and I had to start giving all these step 10s to a new sponsor. And it was like, she's going to think I'm so weird or I'm not very nice. But, she just reads them. And the point is to get them out of my head, to work on them and acknowledge them and get rid of them. And when I do, I don't feel I want any food anymore. And they're just gone. And I can't believe how well it works. And I go to the 2-way prayer session, 5:00 my time every day. And that helps me keep my connection with my higher power, which is step 11. And then step 12, well, I'm doing step 12 right now. I'm sharing my story with everybody who is at some point in their journey, whether it's their first day or whether they've been in here for years. We've all got things that we can learn from each other, and we've all got ways that we can encourage each other or just identify with each other, because I've learned through my year in OA that everybody is equal. I'm not better than anybody else just because I've got over a year's abstinence, and I'm not worse than anybody else because I've only ever got my abstinence for today. I can't ever take the eye off the ball and think, oh, I'm recovered now, I'm done, I haven't got to work this program anymore. And I've still got £100 to lose. I've lost 103. Oh, I'll show you my photos from this past year as I've been recovering. So April 2021, that's me. I'd been abstinent for up to 4 weeks. I'm not sure exactly when in April it was taken. I'd probably at least 2 weeks, and I could finally fit into the 30-32 coat that I'd bought for myself. So that was my first victory of 2021 and of abstinent recovery. And then June 2021, I did a 5K memory walk for my grandmother and my mum, who both got, my mum's got Alzheimer's and my nan passed away from Alzheimer's in 2017. And I had an accident in 2014 which caused complex regional pain syndrome in my left foot through nerve damage. And so walking has been quite a challenge for me since then. And so a 5K memory walk was a real challenge for me, particularly at the weight I was at the time. As you can see from my face, I hadn't lost huge amounts of weight by then. I'd maybe lost 2.5, 3 stone. But I was able to do that 5K walk. It was tough, and I live streamed it to Facebook, and people could see exactly how tough it was. But I raised a lot of money for the Alzheimer's Society. And then if you go down to July, that's me at my son's high school graduation. And as you can see, I've lost a bit more weight, and I'm feeling so much better about myself. And then December 2021, I'm a bit smaller than that now, but that's the best photo I've got that shows you my progress so far. So I'll stop sharing that there. I've got some big health conditions that bring me down day to day. I've got fibromyalgia, which was triggered by my last pregnancy in 2017, and that got really, really bad in September. And my chronic complex regional pain syndrome got much, much worse and spread throughout my body at the same time. So I'm now in constant pain. I'm on 2 types of morphine. I'm on a load of other medications to anti-inflammatories and anti-epileptic drugs that help with nerve damage and all sorts of things to try and help. But I'm in chronic pain and I've got really severe fatigue, which is why I'm sat propped up by a pillow, because just sitting up takes so much energy on a daily basis. And just being awake takes energy. Some days I wake up and I'm like, no, I can't even stay awake at the moment. I'm going to have to just keep sleeping. And if I want to do anything like this, then I have to rest beforehand. So I've just had a 2-hour sleep before this, just to be alert enough to talk to you today. And I'm very much hoping that I'll be able to carry on and answer questions during your shares if possible, and do the newcomer Q&A afterwards, because newcomer Q&A is one of my passions in this program. And from when I was 30 days abstinent onwards, I've been a newcomer greeter in this meeting and the recovery from relapse one, and in a few other meetings as well. And I just love talking to newcomers about where I've been and where I am now. And I've yet to meet anyone I haven't enjoyed talking to. And lots of people still get in touch, and if they want other support or anything. I've now got 4 sponsees. I'm not well enough to work. I'm being dismissed on medical grounds. My husband is now my full-time carer. So being able to sponsor and give service in meetings and over the phone, all through Zoom, no face-to-face meetings, but because I use a wheelchair when I'm out, and so I'd need my husband with me to push me and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, giving service over the phone or on Zoom, it makes my life worth living, because it means I have ways of being doing things that are valued by other people, being able to give back, to share about my recovery and to encourage people in theirs. And it gives me a reason to live, reason to get up each day, a reason to look after myself so that I can keep going and keep serving, because otherwise it feels like after 20 years of being everybody's carer and now needing to be that cared person who's being cared for, get muddled sometimes. It's a huge transition. And without the 12 steps, it's not a transition I could have made. I can't exercise now at all. And so, as I said, when I go out, and I'm in a wheelchair, and I've got to conserve what little energy I've got for the important things, like being with my family or doing service or going to appointments. I can just about drive. Now I'm on all the different painkiller things. And so it's really blessed me that the fact that I'm in a 12-step recovery while I've had all this, been blindsided by these conditions, and there's no cure for them. There's very little treatment for them. There's no real improvement on the cards other than healing by my higher power. And I'm totally open to that at any time if he wants to. But I get the feeling that he just doesn't want, not that he doesn't want to heal me. I'm learning through this, and I'm maybe giving hope to other people who are struggling, whether it's with mental health. I've got anxiety, depression, and as I said, complex PTSD, or physical health. I've been there and I'm living that, and I'm still in recovery over a year later, despite everything. And I'm in contact with my higher power, and I'm able to give him all my feelings, whether it's anger or frustration about what I now can't do for myself. I can't even shower on my own. My husband has to wash me, and I have a shower stall. And I was so ashamed of that at first. But my husband's not. He doesn't mind showering me. Yay, shower together. Great. He's happy. But it was a big humiliation for me, not to be able to help myself. And a big thing, pride and ego. I should be the one who's caring for everybody else. but I've had to accept my new role. And the serenity prayer teaches me so much every day about what I, accept the things I can't change and have the courage to change the things I can. And my higher power gives me the wisdom to know the difference. And so I'm just so blessed through this recovery that I've experienced. And I hope that listening to my story has maybe inspired or blessed you in some way. So thank you very much for listening.
Wow, Bec, that was incredible. Thank you so much for sharing your experience, strength, hope. Let's all give Bec a virtual clap.